Hey everyone, welcome back to Topher Drives, where today you are all riding with me to pick up my good friend Tedward from the airport in this 2025 Toyota GR Corolla. I figured this was the perfect car to use, for one, because it just happens to be what I have scheduled this week, but also, as you guys know, I'm a big advocate for hot hatch dailies or hot compacts. The fact that you can have something like this in a little package that has 300 horsepower but also gets 28 miles per gallon on the highway, it just sounds like the perfect daily. And there are actually quite a few of these cars on the market these days, the GR Corolla being a new entry, only from 2023. So this is only the third model year for this car, but Honda still has the Type R, Volkswagen still has the GTI, and now Toyota has the GR Corolla. And this has been facelifted for the 25 model year. As you can see, we have a new front bumper. That's really the only change on the outside. We have some increased cooling and things. That's why they've just added more grille to this front fascia. But also, now every GR Corolla matches the old special edition Morizo's torque figure. So we still have the 1.6 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder with 300 horsepower, but they now all get the 295 pound-feet of torque. Also new for 25, you're able to opt for the DAT, 8-speed torque converter automatic transmission. This particular GR Corolla does not have that. We still have the good old 6-speed manual. Of course, that is still around for 2025, but I like that an automatic transmission is available, especially when cars like the Civic Type R don't offer that. A couple other changes on the inside, but for the most part, this is still pretty much the same GR Corolla that we know and love. Now, this one is the Premium Plus. Keen-eyed viewers will have noticed the hood vents as well as the carbon fiber roof. This new Premium Plus trim is basically what the Circuit Edition was in 2023 when this car came out. So you have this excellent looking forged carbon roof on a Toyota Corolla. I think this is hilarious. This starts at 45 grand in its Premium Plus trim. This one as spec with a couple options, $48,000. So after taxes and fees and things, this is a $50,000 Toyota Corolla. I didn't think I'd ever see the day when you could have a $50,000 Toyota Corolla, but in a world where cars like this are quite sought after, you do sometimes have to pay the price. And luckily, you can still have the Core model, the base, that starts at just 38 grand. And the Core is quite attractive now because limited slip diffs are now standard. You don't have to pay extra for the performance pack to get the front and rear Torsen limited slips. Toyota has also said that they've gone through and stiffened the suspension, which is something I noticed right away and we'll touch on once we actually get behind the wheel, but they've done that to make the car handle better in high-speed cornering scenarios and also to reduce squat in the rear end. They've moved the trailing arm mounting spots up a bit or something. So lots of little tweaks. As we know, Toyota always kind of does this with facelifts. Okay, that was a little bit long-winded. I do apologize. I'm trying to make this quick as well because it's currently 97 degrees Fahrenheit. Some of you don't know, we're in Michigan right now. Most of these videos are filmed in Michigan. One crop that Michigan grows a lot of is corn. And while the corn doesn't cause the heat, it does cause humidity. I am quite damp right now because of what they call corn sweat. Now, bear with me. I know this is a GR Corolla video, but something like each acre of corn that we grow here releases 4,000 gallons of water a day. And I did the calculation. With all the corn grown in Michigan, there are currently 9.2 billion gallons of water up there. You see them all in the form of these clouds and humidity? So anyway, little Michigan lesson for all of you today. This has a dealer accessory chassis brace, $720. As we know, Toyota loves their dealer accessories. Love to see this, but it does kind of hinder your rear storage. With this being all-wheel drive, we don't have a spare tire. Instead, we have an battery as well as a goop kit. I don't know if it would really be worth it to relocate the battery to add a spare in here. And with this being all-wheel drive, I don't know that a spare would really be the best choice anyway. You probably would just want to call a tow truck. But you've got a good amount of room back here. This is still quite practical. And remember, you don't have to have this chassis brace. And if you don't have it, you can lay those back seats down and fit quite a few things. This GR Corolla is all-wheel drive, of course, as I just mentioned. We still have the 3 exhaust tips, and this actually has a pretty fresh set of tires on it. This is a Michelin Pilot Sport 4. This is the tire that comes standard on every GR Corolla in a 235/40 ZR18 squared setup. Don't believe there have been any changes to the brakes. Let's show you this 1.6 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder. Remember, this is 100 horsepower per cylinder. Toyota squeezes all of the ponies that they can out of this little guy. But for 48 grand, no hood struts. A little bit disappointing. Would like to see those. And it's got kind of the Lexus IS300 style hood prop little clip thing, which I'm sure will break, but looks pretty easy to replace if you do need to do so. Turbo GR, cheeky little engine cover with some red, but it is quite small. So small, in fact, that I think the airbox would actually be bigger than the engine. Look how big this intake is. Toyota Gazoo Racing. Don't know if these are easy to work on. Toyota techs, you can chime in the comments, as well as reliability if you've seen any issues with these GR Corollas. Premium Plus cars get these hood vents, which are functional. You don't see those in lower trims. And I mentioned that we have some upgraded cooling. The Premium Plus gets a standard secondary radiator. It makes this a better package for the track. GR Corollas have kind of historically struggled, and they do heat soak a bit on track. So this one should do a bit better. And if you go for the DAT, the 8-speed automatic, you get a trans cooler as well. So lots of good stuff, lots of good cooling things. In the back seat, the Premium Plus gets you these suede or Alcantara inserts here and red stitching. So this is trimmed out pretty nice, as it should be for $48,000. In the back seat here, we have a fold-down armrest, which is more than you can say about the front because there's no center console whatsoever, but backseat passengers do get one, as well as 2 cup holders in the middle and in the doors. So backseat passengers can have 2 drinks apiece, or I suppose if you put someone in the middle, which you can because there is a seat belt. But remember, this is all-wheel drive, so there is a drivetrain hump. This middle seat is going to be a bit tight. And sat here behind myself at 5'11", I'm okay. You don't have as much legroom as you would in a Honda Civic, but I'm not always a huge fan of cars in this segment getting very big. I think this GR Corolla is just about the right size, and the back seat is plenty functional for what it needs to be. Okay, I think that's just about it for a walk around. Let's get in and start this up. Get some air conditioning going. That is what I crave the most right now. Inside, we still have the 12.3-inch digital cluster that I have always said looks a bit jumbled, and well, it still does. There's a lot of information going on here. This changes a bit as you cycle through your drive modes. When you go into sport, your tack goes to the top. Gear indicator stays in the middle, and then your speedo's off to the right. I mean, this is just... Let me know if it's only me, but this just looks like a total jumbled mess. Now, the good thing about this is you can actually turn off these 2 side pods, or you can make them whatever you want them to be. But there's just a lot going on with that cluster. In the middle, we have this Google-based infotainment system. We still have wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. Changes on the interior. Toyota has moved the IMT button to in front of the shifter. That used to be over here, and there's evidence of that because there's still a blank space where it was with a blank switch that doesn't do anything. But I like it here better. It's easier to see. You don't have to search for it over here. And if you're unfamiliar, IMT is the auto rev matching system. Additionally, they have changed the way that the GR4 system works as far as manipulating that as you drive. Normal is still our regular 60/40. Gravel is now the mode to put you into 50/50, and track mode is now an adaptive system. So the car will send power where it feels necessary. There's no longer a way to lock this into 30/70, but track mode is the closest you can now get. Otherwise, we still have a physical climate control panel. We still have 2 settings of heated seats. We've got a wireless charger up here, though I have my phone plugged in right now because it's 97 degrees and I don't want it to overheat. Ergonomically, we still have a physical handbrake. Love to see that, but as I said while I was in the back, no armrest or center console. So when you're storing stuff, you got to use the glove box, as you can see I'm doing for my hat right now. And I mean, this still feels like a Corolla, but with just slightly nicer materials in here. Do I think this feels like a $50,000 interior? No, I don't, but you buy this car for the performance. You don't necessarily buy it to touch leather. Though you do touch leather because the steering wheel is leather wrapped with red stitching. All right, Tedward is landing in 6 minutes, but then he's got to taxi and walk through the airport and stuff. So hopefully this works out quite well, but we're going to run through a bit of a performance loop, of course, to show you what this GR Corolla is like to drive spiritedly, and then we'll jump on the highway and we will show you what it's like to commute. We're going to start out in normal mode. Actually, I'll show you our reversing camera first. Quality is just okay, and then it doesn't look like these leading lines turn with the car, but no 360 camera or anything here on this GR Corolla. Toyota has gone in and adjusted the clutch. The actual unit itself is the same, but they've adjusted how it engages to make it a bit easier to drive at speed when you're changing gears quickly, and I would say that they were pretty successful. It's a bit easier to drive this faster, smoother now. I will say, it does drive a bit differently with the air conditioning on. I mean, this is just a tiny little engine, so it does rob a bit of power, so keep that in mind for today. Look at this. This is a Toyota Yaris IA, is that what they called that? Rare. Oh, and then there's a Toyota Corolla that also would have been a Geo Prism. Lots of good Toyota treats for us this afternoon. This is a bit of a rush hour commute. It's currently 4 p.m., so there is going to be a bit of traffic, but that'll be good to give you guys a bit of a realistic commute here in this GR Corolla. Steering is pretty light when you're in normal mode. You can give it a little more heft when you go into sport, but that, as well as like the throttle response and things, that's all that changes. This has fixed dampers, which is why I was a little concerned about Toyota's choice to make this stiffer for 2025, because in my opinion, the 23 and 24 cars felt just about perfect. I don't really think this needed to stiffen up, but you know, Toyota likes to mess with their cars every model year and dial them in just a bit more. Lots of cool turbo noise here from this 1.6 liter. The IMT system works great, really smooth downshifts. Makes you feel like a hero. We are cursed by a Silverado that looks like it's been stabbed by a forklift. We'll try not to stab it with the GR Corolla. Shifter feels nice, pretty notchy. There are some people that don't like this shifter. I think it feels pretty good. Good torque here, even with the air conditioning on and very dense air, which turbocharged cars don't generally like humidity like this. Yeah, this is doing the thing right now. Let's see how it takes a corner with this revised suspension. Yeah, absolutely flat around the corner. That is impressive. And keep in mind, this is not a Pilot Sport 4S that we're on. This is just a Pilot Sport 4. Okay, let's put this into sport. Sharpen things up a bit. We'll take this corner one more time, and then we're just going to jump right on the highway and start our commute. Tedward and the Topher are going on this big off-roading trip with Firestone to Wyoming, I think is what they're doing. So Tedward is just here for about a day. I am his chariot to the Topher's house. Throttle is noticeably snappier in sport mode. I just like making turbo noises. Also, love the sound of this 3-cylinder. It doesn't really sound like much from the back, but the induction sound is what I like. Let's go into track. And let's keep it in third this time. Yeah! Love the sound of that rev limiter. Toyota always does cool rev limiter noises. Like the LC500. Even back to like my IS300 and GS400. Okay, let's get this on the highway and see what it's actually like to live with. But we can't do a GR Corolla video and not show you what it's like in a spirited fashion. Nice Camaro. Sorry, Mazda 2. Let's put this back into normal. It's worth mentioning also you can do a custom drive mode, which I've got set up, of course, for powertrain and sport, steering in normal, air conditioning in normal, whatever that means. I don't know, Toyota always links in the climate control with the drive modes. Let's see, should we see if this makes any noise under the bridge? We'll find out. Nope. Absolutely no noise whatsoever. Right, okay. So now is where you're going to see this stiffened suspension, which is quite bouncy. This section of highway in particular is a very good demonstrator for this. Some of you OGs that have been watching for a while will have watched the Focus RS morning commute, which was on this same section of highway, and I was bouncing absolutely all over the place. Now, while this Corolla isn't quite as stiff as the Focus RS, I would say it's about 80% of the way there. They have really made this, I think it's a little bit over damped. Just being honest, I think the suspension setup in the older cars favored daily driving a bit more, whereas this new setup does favor track driving and spirited driving, and that may be your thing. Don't take this as this being bad. It's just a little bit different, and if you're going to be using your GR Corolla as a daily driver, this is something that you're going to have to accept. Now, the camera's probably doing a pretty good job of stabilizing this, but I am bouncing quite a bit right now. Otherwise, this car does a pretty good job with its other highway manners. It tracks arrow straight, it's quiet enough. Oh my, yeah, this is... And the thing I like the most about it on the highway is the way it's geared, because in 6th gear, at highway speeds right now, 79 miles an hour, you're revved over 3,000 RPM. So if you need to make a pass, put your foot down and all the torque is there. So that is a good thing. We also have a JBL sound system here in this Premium Plus trim. You also get that in the Premium, and I believe it's an option on the Core if you opt for the Technology Pack or whatever they call it. So the JBL is available across the board. Normally, with these press cars, we have them delivered right to the house, but there is a bit of a unique situation this past week, and we actually went out to the location where these cars are stored and picked this up. So I got in this, and about 2 minutes into driving it, I was on the highway, and I was like, this can't be right. There's no way this GR Corolla should be this stiff. And Toyota will actually sell you stiffer suspension as a dealer accessory, and I thought, oh, maybe this has that, but it doesn't. According to the Monroney, this is just the standard suspension on this car, so it's a bit much, if I'm being honest. We have Toyota's full suite of driver aids in this, so we have adaptive cruise and all that stuff. Super easy to use. While I do miss the little stalk that sticks out from the steering column, they make this very easy. One push of the cruise control button, and you are going at the speed that you are already at. Easy to set the speed. Everything is physical here on the steering wheel. You can set your adaptive cruise distance on here as well. And then if you don't like what's currently on the cluster, you can hold the OK button and switch it. I've got my tire pressure on here right now. You can see torque distribution. You can see a G meter. You can have nothing, which is probably what I should be doing so the cluster isn't so jumbled. But I like to see my tire pressure on there. In the middle, you can switch what you have. I like to have my gear indicator, and then I've got a boost gauge on the left, but you can also have your temperatures and things, your song you're listening to, compass. This week we've been averaging 20.8 mpg, which is just about the city rating for this car. 21 city, 24 combined, 28 highway. Seat comfort is pretty decent. This is a full manual seat, so we don't have a ton of adjustment. Up, down, forward, back. Obviously the seat back moves, but I don't feel any sort of lumbar adjust. I always feel the front of the seat now because I was just driving a Mercury Marauder and the lumbar adjustment was on the front of the seat. So it's always worth checking, but this does not appear to have any of that. And while we're just cruising here, why don't we do a bit of a test on our JBL sound system. Honestly, Toyota didn't say anything about tweaking this JBL in the press release for this 25 facelift on the GR Corolla, but it does sound like it's got a bit more power and it does sound a bit crispier. All of these hot hatches now do have premium audio options, and I would say this is just about on par with all of them. Not quite as good as the Bose and the Civic Type R, but I honestly would say it's better than, I think, what is it, a Bose? It's either a Bose or a Harman Kardon in the Elantra N, and then a Harman Kardon in the GTI. This does the thing, man. It's a pretty dang solid sound system. So, all right, well, as we pull up to the airport, we can wrap this up a bit, but I do want to talk actually about elbow comfiness first, because that is, of course, we always have to touch on that. Left side elbow comfiness is actually really nice. We've got a soft leather material here on the door panel. Right elbow comfiness is non-existent, so you have to figure out what to do with this arm. I've just been resting both hands on the steering wheel this week, and it's been all right. You know, this is one of those cars where I don't necessarily miss an armrest, but I think for 48 grand, Toyota, come on, give us an armrest, or at least an option to have one. Otherwise, though, I mean, as far as living with this goes, backseat is practical, cargo area is practical. There are some places to put things, of course. You've got this little wireless charger in front of the shifter, which you really should only use for your phone, but it does have a lot of cup holders. I guess Toyota thinks Americans just drink lots of things, which I suppose we do. Unfortunately, these cup holders are right in line with the shifter, so it's a little bit awkward if you have drinks in here to change gear, but this car is also available with an automatic gearbox, so that would solve that problem for you, as opposed to just go with the DAT. But I love the gearing on this. This doesn't have the short gearing that we found in the Marizo in 2023, but it's zippy enough. And in situations like this, when you're kind of in traffic and you need to be darting around sometimes and avoiding things, it's nice to have that torque, kind of no matter where you're at. Even in fourth gear and 45 miles an hour, I still feel like I have the passing power that I need. So they've set this car up quite nicely for city driving and daily driving in general, which is kind of what I always loved about the GR Corolla. And I still do love that about it, but with these new suspension tweaks, it makes it less appealing as a daily driver, which I think is a mistake. And this is just, wait until the end of the video to say this, because this is kind of my conclusion with this car, is that Toyota has a really, really good streetable hot hatch rally car for the road sort of situation here with the GR Corolla. And I don't really think the stiffening of the suspension was necessary. But let me know what you guys think if you drive one of these, if you think it's noticeably stiffer. To me, it is. I'm gonna put these windows down. Come on, we're at the airport. We got to see if it makes any noise whatsoever, I suppose. We'll find out through this tunnel. And onto the brakes. Honestly, I think with an exhaust, this would sound really good. I think it would be easy to make it sound bad, but with just the right exhaust setup, this would sound really good. So there you go. That's an airport commute in the 2025 Toyota GR Corolla, a car that I think is just about perfectly set up for daily driving. And suspension is something that you can change, so that's really not too big of a deal. But steering feel pretty light, honestly. Toyota's found this really nice balance where the steering is light but also direct, so it's really nice for daily driving, but then you can stick it into a corner and it feels quite nice. Shifter and clutch action, nice, easy, you don't have to put a ton of thought into it, and I mean, it's still a nice package. I think 48 grand for the Premium Plus is a bit much, but you could spend $10,000 less and get a base core and decide that $38,000 is worth it. I think that's probably what I would do. I could go without the carbon roof and the extra cooling and the hood vents and things. So it's really just about deciding what's worth it for you. I would call that parked. All right, and now we sit and wait for Tedward to emerge from the Edward McNamara Airport Terminal, and hopefully all of the stuff fits in this little hot hatch. You know, he's going to be gone. He would have packed for a week, so hopefully this works. But in the meantime, and while we wait for him to emerge, let's jump out and give you guys one last look at this 25 GR Corolla Premium Plus, and that'll be it for us today. We're going to leave it running so the AC stays on. I think I failed to mention in the beginning, this is finished in heavy metal, one of 4 colors that Toyota will sell you. It's also a black, a white, and then supersonic red, which is probably what I would go for because I do like a bit of an eccentric color on a hot hatch. But anyway, that's been an airport commute here in the GR Corolla. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. There he is. Greetings.
Oh my God, it's freaking hot and fresh from Boston.
Yeah.
It's a good day, but I'm glad to be back.
You know why it's so hot? It's the corn sweats.
It's the corn
9.2 billion gallons of humidity.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, well, if we have room in front of this Buick Enclave, we'll get your stuff into the trunk. There it is.
This car does have a shockingly small amount of luggage space.
Yeah, and less because it has this dealer accessories chassis brace.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Good god. Well, why don't we get out of